This is Windows 7. This is the desktop. Over on the left-hand side, you can see icons. Over on the bottom, we have a taskbar, and right here we have the Start menu. That can be opened with the Start menu button or the Start menu key on the keyboard. As you can see, if I open up a folder, we get a window. This is a file and folder window, and as you can see, it can be resized from any edge. You can just click on the edge and resize it. It has three buttons at the top right. One is to minimize. That will basically reduce it. You can bring it back by clicking on its button in the taskbar. Another is to maximize, or to make it the full size of the screen, or you can restore down and make it into a smaller window again. The last one is a close button. Now, applications also have windows. These are two different kinds of windows. There is a file and folder window, and there is an application window. They both have similar features. They have the buttons in the top right, they have the title bar, they have a status bar at the bottom, but there are differences. For example, in the file and folder menu, you can see icons. There's also a sidebar on the left that allows you to choose various locations. But this is, of course, different from an application window in which you actually see whatever happens in the application inside the window. There we go. Now, in the Start menu, if you click on it, you'll notice that there are various parts. You can see that there's a search bar right here. So, for example, if I type in Word, I can get a list of all the documents that either have Word in the title or that have the word Word inside the document. Another thing that you can do is that you can take a look at all programs in the computer. This allows you to see a list of all the programs that are there. You can go into different folders and view different programs. Or you could go into the Start menu. The Start menu has a list of various programs. Now, let's say, for example, that you don't want a certain program here. For example, I don't need XPS Viewer. I can right-click on it, and I can remove from this list. But let's say, for example, I would like the calculator to be there all the time. Now, this might not happen because this list actually is a list of recently used applications. So this list will change over time. But if you right-click on this and you say Pin to the Start menu, then it'll go to the top, and there's a little separator there. Let me click it again. Here we go. You'll notice that between these two, there is now a little gray separator. So anything above that line is permanently on the Start menu. Everything below will cycle through depending on what you've used recently. So I'm going to, for example, let's see, apparently, there we go. I can remove this from the list. I can remove various things from the list. Let me remove this one. There we go. And I can keep on removing things from the list, or I can pin them to the Start menu. Another thing I can do is I can go into the All Programs list here. For example, let's say I want Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word to be pinned to the Start menu, so I can go there. I can right-click, and here I can again pin to the Start menu. I can decide to do the same thing with PowerPoint. Let's pin that. And now when I go back, you'll notice that I have Word and PowerPoint right in here. Another way we can do this is just by clicking and dragging up to that part. You can also use this to rearrange the list and have applications appear in the order that you want. You can also at any time just go ahead and unpin it or even just remove it completely from the list. Over on the right, there are some basic locations: your account folder, documents, pictures, music, the main computer window, which you can also get by typing Windows E, control panel, and then other utilities, help, and support. You can also shut down or log out or restart the computer from right here. Now down here at the bottom we have the taskbar, and you see that there are some icons along here. Now you can, if you want, have any program or any folder to be pinned to the taskbar in this way. So for example, If I would like the command prompt to be on the taskbar as well, I can just right-click on that, pin to the taskbar, and now you'll see it appears in the taskbar right over here. If there's anything I don't want, for example, Internet Explorer, in the taskbar, I can just click on it, and I can say, unpin this from the taskbar, and it will disappear. Files and folders cannot be pinned to the taskbar, but what you can do is that you can pin them to the individual item. So if you right-click on the icon, you can see that I have pinned this document called My Homework. I've pinned it to Microsoft Word, so it'll always appear if I right-click on that item. Same thing with folders. If I right-click on the Explorer folder right here, I can see that I can pin certain things here, and that way you can always easily access them. Over here on the right, you'll notice that there is something called the System Tray. It has many utilities. I can change languages here. I can see various hidden icons, including the ability to, for example, eject USB flash drives. I've got network status, video status, printer status, all kinds of things here, including the volume. If you click on the volume, you get a volume lever. Finally, we have the time and the date over here, and you'll notice that there's a little box right over here. Now, that's if you happen to have open, for example, let's say this. And I've now filled the screen. I can't see the desktop. What if I want to go see the desktop? Well, I can just click on this little button in the bottom right, and I can see the desktop. That's the Show Desktop button. Now, there are other tricks that you can do. These are recent, for example, in either Vista or Microsoft Windows 7. One you can do with Windows is that you can take them and you can drag them to the top of the screen, and it'll fill out the entire screen. It'll maximize the window. Pull it down, and it'll restore down again. If you do the same thing on the right-hand side, then it'll fill up half of the window there, half of the screen. And if you have another window open, you can do the same thing to the left half, and you can now have a split screen. So let me get rid of those. Now let's look at another way to manipulate windows. Let's say, for example, that we have Microsoft Word. Now, I'm going to open up Microsoft Word, but notice what happens to the icon when I do that. When I click on the icon, what looks to be a pane of glass appears in front of the icon. That tells me that the program is active. This is a big improvement over Windows XP, in which you could open a program and never be sure if you actually opened it or if it's just taking a long time for it to open. So this is actually a great way of indicating that the program is open. But it also indicates how many windows are open at once. If I, for example, open up 2 windows, like this, you'll notice that it appears that there are 2 panes of glass here. If I open up a 3rd window, you'll see that it appears we have 3 panes of glass. Now that's the limit. I can keep on opening up, but it won't be any more than 3 apparent panes of glass in front of the icon. But a feature that's been added in Windows is that if you hold your cursor over the icon, you can see a preview of all of the windows that are open. And then you can either decide to go to any one of those windows, or you can even close the window. But if you decide to go it, then that's the one that will appear. Let's say, for example, that I take this one and I minimize it, or I restore down, that is, actually. Let's take a look at the desktop. Now, if I want to go to the smaller window, you'll notice that when I bring up these windows, this one is a smaller one. Now I actually can see the window as I scroll over it, but this is the one that I want, so I click on it, and now I'm in that window. So you can also right-click on the icon, and then you can just close all windows at the same time if that's what you want to do. Another thing that you can do is that if you have many windows open, let's see if I can open up a few more right here. Let's go into PowerPoint. Let's open up this one right here. Let's open up a couple of file and folder windows. And now I'd like to scroll between them. Now, the traditional way to do this is to hold down the Alt key and then hit Tab. And you'll notice that we get a line of thumbnails of the windows, and we can go through one by one. You have to hold down the Alt key and then tap Tab again and again, and then when you get to the window that you want, or the desktop, then you stop, let go of the Alt key, and now you're in that window. Now, if you do the same thing with the Windows key and tab, you'll get a different effect. This is kind of it's a 3D version of it that allows you to flip through the various windows that are open, and if you find one that you like, you stop, and that will allow you to see that window. Let's go back and take a look at the desktop. Now, one other thing that you can do is that you can take the taskbar and you can unlock it. This allows you to take it and resize it if you wish, to make it bigger or smaller, but mostly it allows you to move it to the side, to the top, to the left, or back to the bottom again. This will allow you to do things, for example, like if you like your taskbar to be at the top, you can have it start from there instead of the bottom. Once you're finished, then you just right-click on it again, and you lock the taskbar, and there you are. So these are some of the things that you can do in Microsoft Windows 7. It's not a complete list, of course, not by far, but it gives you a basic idea of the Windows 7 desktop environment.